Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed, live from Los Angeles. I'm Jamie Maggio, here with Greg Jennings, Rob Parker, Chris Broussard. Guys, it's Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Am I the only
You're
one
the
in
only
the Valentine's
one.
spirit?
I
I don't know, man.
Wait, what is
you
that?
gotta
You
look
got a little
awfully
what?
closely for that.
Let me see. I don't have any. Maybe because I've been divorced for 15 years. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be.
No Valentine's date for you this weekend?
Not this year.
Happy
Oh,
Valentine's.
happy Valentine's
Thank you very
Day.
much.
All right, guys. You
Make me feel so bad. Now.
the one who brought it up.
I'm sorry.
Guys, let's get it going with the Lakers this morning. And the season hasn't worked out as planned for LA and LeBron so far. They're under 500 in our three games back in the playoff race. This is all leading to speculation that Luke Walton could be out as head coach. But that's not going to happen. That's according to the LA Times. Reports say Jeannie Buss, Magic Johnson, and GM Rob Pelinka are all united in keeping Walton for the rest of the season. However, the report adds the execs see a, quote, disconnect between Walton and the players, and they feel LeBron isn't totally engaged. Chris, let's start with you. Is it a mistake to keep Luke Walton?
No. It would be a mistake to get rid of Luke Walton. And here's why. Let's get the feelings out of this. Let's get our emotions out of this, and let's look at the facts. And I'm not saying Luke Walton is Phil Jackson or Greg Popovich, okay? I'm not saying he's going to be some all-time great coach. But here are the facts. The problem with the Lakers, there are many, but it's not Luke Walton. And again, he may bear some of the blame, but it shouldn't all go at his feet. The first problem with the Lakers is injuries. Okay, when they were healthy with LeBron James, they were 20-14. At one point, they were 6 or 7 games over 500, and they were the 4th seed in the West. And they beat Golden State on Christmas Day in a huge game. Now, was Luke Walton the coach then? Yes. So you mean to tell me within the last month and a half, he forgot how to coach? Okay, here's the injury list. LeBron misses 18 games. Rondo misses 34 games. Brandon Ingram misses 11 games. Lonzo Ball misses 10 games. You want to talk about his rotation? Seems like he doesn't really have one. How are you supposed to put together a solid rotation when you have all of these injuries? And when you have your best player, LeBron, you have to play one way, and then when he's gone, you have to play a completely different way, even in the midst of the same game sometimes. Second thing, is it Luke's fault that they can't shoot free throws? And I don't want to hear, he's got to make them practice. You don't think they're practicing? Shaquille O'Neal practices free throws. He just couldn't shoot them. The Lakers are dead last in the NBA in foul shooting, 68%. That's horrendous. LeBron, for some reason, is having his worst year from the line ever, 68%. Brandon Ingram, 66%. And Lonzo, 42%. That's not on Luke. Third thing, roster composition. You signed LeBron James. What has been the formula for LeBron James to be at his best and win championships? Surround him with three-point shooters. What do? Go get Lance Stevenson. Go get Rajon Rondo. Go get Michael Beasley. None of whom really can shoot the 3-ball well. And LeBron has something to do with that too. He was involved with what free agents he wanted them to go get. They wanted to try something new. It didn't work. And the proof is here that they know they're wrong. What'd they do at the trade deadline? Trade for Reggie Bullock and Mike Muscala for one reason and one reason only. They can shoot 3-pointers. All right, they're 26 in the league in three-point shooting. Again, Luke didn't put together this disjointed roster. Then, fourth, the sign of a good coach in the NBA or any level is defense. Does his team defend? The Lakers during November, December, and January were a top 10 defensive team. We've all talked about how LeBron doesn't defend anymore. Even with that, they were a top 10 defensive team. They're still ranked 12th after falling off the map in the last few weeks. And why did they fall off the map defensively? This is going to sound crazy. Maybe I'll sound like LeVar Ball. But the loss of Lonzo has hurt them defensively. In the 47 games Lonzo's played, Their ranking is 106. That's in the top 10 defensively. He's a good defender, and they like to switch all the time. He's long. He can play different positions, so he's a great guy in the switch defense. The 10 games without Lonzo, their defensive rating is 118. Put that in perspective. The Cleveland Cavaliers have the worst defense in the league. Their rating, 114. So that's how bad the defense is without Lonzo. So you can't put all that on Luke Walton. They are setting him up to be the scapegoat for the front office, for LeBron, for the other players, and it's not right. And Jeannie Buss is right to say he's going to be here at least for the rest of the season.
I agree with a lot of what you said, almost all of it. The last part, the scapegoat. There's always a scapegoat when it comes to things not working out to plan or according to plan. There has to be a scapegoat. In sport, that's just the reality we live in. And when I hear the reports that Jeannie Buss, Magic, and Pelinka are all united, yeah, they're united because Jeannie Buss said this is what's going to take place. So there has to be an agreement there. They don't really believe that Luke Walton, I believe Magic and Pelinka, they don't believe that Luke Walton is there in their future. He was not the coach that they brought in there with them. So that is one thing that Luke Walton has against him. Yes, to your points, everything that you mentioned from a statistical standpoint, free throw shooting, the roster personnel, it wasn't Luke Walton's fault, but this is what he has to manage. Yes, they were the 4th seed. I don't want to hear what they were. I want to hear what they are. And what they are is a bad team that is not getting it done, and this is why. When you have a Lance Stevenson on a 1-year contract, when you have a Rajon Rondo on a 1-year contract, you have a JaVale McGee on a 1-year contract, these are all your veterans. You have LeBron James, the veteran in the locker room, obviously the superstar. He's on a 4-year deal. We all understand that. There's division in that locker room. You have veterans who think, you know what? I deserve more. I need to go out here and prove that I can get more. But I deserve more because I've been in this league for a long time. Then you have a slew of young guys. You have the Lonzo Balls, the Brandon Ingrams, the Kyle Kuzma, all these guys who feel like I'm proving to play into a big contract, a big deal. And then you decide, you know what? We can do better than you young guys. So we'll ship all of you out, including Lonzo and Lance Stevenson, for AD. You don't think that creates some tension in that locker room within that organization?
That tension is not Luke's fault.
I'm not saying it is Luke's fault. This is a scapegoat mentality. This is what happens. And so now Luke is left to manage that. When LeBron James is in the huddle and he's not even talking to Luke Walton and he's discussing more with Brian Shaw than anybody else, that's problematic. That's problematic, and that's Luke Walton. That falls back on Luke Walton. He doesn't have control of this team any longer. And when a coach loses control of the locker room or the guys that are important, and he no longer has a voice that can echo and say, guys, this is how we need to get it done. This is what coach is saying. And they're following suit because the number one guy is in line, being LeBron James, then you don't have a problem. But with the Lakers, that's their problem. LeBron James isn't in agreement with Luke Walton. So nobody else is going to feel like, you know what, we should listen to him too. No, this is why Luke Walton has to go. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's not a good coach. I believe he is. But from a player's perspective and being inside locker rooms, once there is tension and division and you can't corral that and you can't find a way to get these guys to play to the level of expectation, you're the same.
So he should go now? Because that was the question.
He's not going to fix it. I don't see this getting remedied. The only thing that can remedy this is if LeBron James says, guys, let's go. Let's make the playoffs. Let's lock it in. And, I mean, they're not going to go deep into the playoffs.
He should say that.
I mean, he has to.
He can say all he wants. The only problem is, see, this is the problem I have. And I hear all the stats and numbers and where they were 3 months ago and all this. But let's just be honest. Where they are now is not good enough. LeBron is back. You can talk about all this. Lonzo's not here. And the same thing, Greg, the thing that bothers me the most is watching them defensively because that's effort. That's when you decide.
You don't have to coach that.
You don't have to.
No, you do have to coach in terms of technique.
No, effort.
Effort.
Yeah, but effort alone is more than effort.
There's no effort. There's no effort.
Defense is more than effort. It's technique. Are we a switching team or are we not a switching team?
But there's no effort there, and that's the problem that I have, is that also there were games this year where they needed to win, Greg, and they weren't ready. When the Knicks came to town, the Knicks have lost 18 straight since beating the Lakers. 18
That's
straight.
That's your favorite stat.
No, well, because it's telling. They also lost to the Cavaliers. That's where a coach has to say, these are important games that we can't afford to lose here. They weren't ready for those games. Go look it up, Chris. They came out and got kicked in the teeth to start the games. They weren't ready.
Is your answer he should be fired over this break?
All I'm saying is
that
he's part of the problem. There's no doubt about it.
I'm not saying he's
And I'm not
blameless.
giving him a pass just because LeBron James missed some games and because, oh, my God, Lonzo Ball's not playing. So that's the reason the Lakers should be in the situation where they are, which is on the outside of the playoffs looking in. Nobody would have imagined.
LeBron's not the reason they're on the outside of the playoffs.
No,
his absence.
That's
the reason.
Part of it.
Let's just keep it real.
But there were games that they could have won without LeBron, and they did not do that.
And there were games should they have beaten Oklahoma City without LeBron?
They won that game, but
it balances out.
It doesn't balance out.
You're gonna blame him for the losses that they shouldn't have lost, but not give him credit.
I'm not saying I'm not giving
him
him any credit for those games, but there are those situations. And here's the problem. Jeannie Buss likes him. Good. Luke Walton's a good guy, a nice guy. It can't be based on just because I like you.
Should he be fired right now? That's the question. I want to hear the answer.
That wasn't the question.
It is the question.
I thought it was.
Is it a mistake?
Is it a mistake?
Is it a mistake to keep him for the rest of the season?
Yes.
I'm not saying you're saying that. Yes, I know.
Yes, it is, because the culture has to change. The dynamics have to change in order for them to achieve what we all know that they are.
What should change is that they should come back, starting with LeBron, and say, "Look, we got to make the playoffs." We had Chris Bosh on yesterday. They wanted Eric Spoelstra out, all of them. Bosh, LeBron, Wade is what I was told, all of them. Pat Riley sat him down and said, "This is the guy. If you're going to win, it's going to be with him."
Magic and them need to say completely different dynamic.
No, it's completely different.
What's the difference?
They weren't under 500, and they weren't.
They were to start the season.
No, after the first 8 games, Chris.
No, after the first 17, they were 9-8.
We're talking about 55 games into the season.
They were playing fine when LeBron was healthy. All I'm saying, I'm not saying he's got to be the coach next year. You can fire him at the end of the season. I'm saying if they want to make the playoffs, which they do, then they got to do it with Luke Walton. And Magic and Pelinka need to say, look, everybody in here wants to make the playoffs. For you young boys, it's going to help you. Whether you're here or elsewhere, it's going to be good experience for you. It's going to say something about your reputation as a player. For LeBron, it's going to help you. And if you're going to make the playoffs, you got to do it with Luke.
You don't have to do it with
this season.
Yeah, they have to.
That's all I'm
because
saying.
Jeannie Buss is telling them.
Right.
Well, that's your only choice.
So that's the hammer. To have some pride as players. I don't care who's coaching. He's not the worst coach in the league.
Nobody's saying he's the worst coach.
So then why can't you play for him for 25 games?
But the results, especially since LeBron has come back, have been
You're
terrible.
a prisoner of the moment.
No, I have to
Rob
be.
Parker.
I need
That's
to be.
5 games.
Yes, but this is where they're out of the playoff picture and falling every day.
They're out of the playoff picture because the best player in the world got hurt.
No, he's back
he's never
now,
been
Chris.
hurt like that.
You can't keep saying that. He's back.
It's 5 games back. He's still not 100%. You can see it. And I'm saying we wouldn't even be having this conversation
for me,
if LeBron has been healthy.
But LeBron's not healthy, so we have to work through that.
Let me touch on this, because I still think that they can make the playoffs. I still think that they will. But LeBron James being injured for those 17, 18 games, yes. Did it hurt them? Yes. Him playing right now, I don't want to hear he's not healthy. If you are dressed, if you are on the court,
he's not healthy.
Here's the thing. Every time you give him the option or you ask the question, how are you feeling? Of course, he's gonna say, I'm getting back. I'm trying to get back to where I once was, or I'm trying to get to 100%, or I'm not 100%. There is nobody playing in the National Basketball Association right now that has been putting in work that is 100%.
I get that.
So I don't want to hear he's not healthy.
I get it. Fine.
You're out there.
Do you think when he comes back after the break, he's going to look better than he has these last 5 games?
He has to.
He will. Don't you think he will?
I'm not sure. At this time. And
he has to.
Okay.
Here's the other part, Chris. Here's what you fall in. This is the trap. So you go, well, Luke Walton can't make them make free throws. Luke Walton can't make them shoot three-pointers or whatever. But when they were in the 4th seed and they were playing well, right?
But they were still missing free throws.
But I'm just asking
They were still missing
But they were winning those games, though, right? Were they winning those games?
Right.
Okay, so now...
So what's happened in the last month and a half?
My point is it can't be only one way. When players do what the coach wants and they win games, then the coach gets credit. Okay. But when they lose... Then you say it's not the coach's fault. It's the player's fault.
I'm not saying.
That's what you're saying.
Again, I'm not saying
yes,
he's
that
blameless.
Is what you're saying.
No, I'm answering the question, which you still haven't done.
I answered the question.
What's the answer?
I would give Brian Shaw the job and try to spark.
Brian Shaw is fine. Brian Shaw was 56
something.
and 85
I'm talking
Denver.
about right here, right now, to try to spark this team. The team is walking dead. They don't play defense. This team will not make the playoffs, Chris.
You know your feelings on that.
Just watch. Didn't
you say earlier that they should keep Luke?
No, I didn't.
This season?
I didn't say that.
All right, so he should be fired over this break.
I have no problem if they were to say we want to try to spark this team because it looks dead and they're not playing defense. Okay, effort thing. We need some new fire, something to turn this around because they're trending downward.
And it's
why does this all fall on Luke Walton? I understand
we're not
that
saying
head
it all
coach has
falls
a
on
certain
Luke
amount
Walton.
of responsibility, but you were saying earlier that in the huddles, LeBron isn't listening. That's not the first time we've heard that with LeBron and a head coach. How much of this responsibility is on the world's greatest player? You're the world's greatest player. You go out there and you lead by example.
A lot of it is on him, but when you've won and you've proven that you can win and the way that you choose to win and the way that you need things to look, it works, you're going to have some say.
And leeway.
You're gonna listen to what he has to say because it's been proof in the pudding. He's been able to do it with subpar guys around him, but they're very important with their roles. They know their roles, guys that can shoot, spread the court, allow him to have driving lanes and
which they didn't give Luke.
They didn't. But what I'm saying is...
And LeBron's won championships only with superstars with him. He don't have any superstars with him right now. So we going to hold Luke Walton to that championship
last year?
Well, you tell me one player in the NBA that's won a championship without
I'm just saying,
another coach
this
superstar.
Is not a championship team.
No. We all know that.
But Dirk Nowitzki won one without superstars against that Miami team.
But this should be a playoff team, and we're going to look at the end of this year when they don't make the playoffs.
So Jason Kidd,
no, not at that point. He was old. He was old and raggedy.
Oh, and he was ineffective.
So if LeBron plays here, they don't make the playoffs. It still shouldn't be Luke's fault because obviously the players didn't make the baskets, didn't make the free throws.
I'm fine.
How could you fire Luke at that point?
I'm fine with Luke getting fired at the end of the season. Okay, if the players aren't buying in, get a new coach. But I'm saying he has not been given a fair shot this year with all the injuries, with the fact that they had success when they were healthy. With the fact that the roster is kind of this jumbled mess. That's the front office point. That's their decision, and they tried to right it by going to get 2 3-point shooters at the break. Give the guy a chance is all I'm saying. That's it. Luke Walton, I know people going to poo-poo it, but remember what he did in Golden State.
No.
Kevin Durant was not there.
Stop.
Kevin Durant was not there.
Chris, you could have coached that team.
No, I couldn't.
Yes, you could have. Stop.
Give the man some credit.
Nope, I'm not giving him that credit at all.
Okay, so you gonna hold that against him? You're not gonna hold 56 and 85 against Brian Shaw?
Last year when they had all those young kids, they were saying the Lakers were gonna make the playoffs last year. They won 35 games. The NBA experts, people picked them.
I don't know about all that.
Jamie, am I wrong?
A couple.
People picked them to win.
The problem is
they didn't.
The problem is Luke Walton doesn't have LeBron's 100% support. And if you don't have that, this is the time to make a change because LeBron will immediately shift his his disposition, his way of thinking, his mindset,
We've seen the
with
body
just
language.
a different head coach.
That's with Brian Shaw.
A different
Because
look.
they're not bringing in somebody, Mark Jackson, Jason Kidd for the last 25 games.
No, but my point is, if that is what it takes to shift the number one player in the world's mindset and get him going again and excited about what we have, because this is all we got, then that's what needs to take place.
LeBron should be able to motivate himself by himself. If he wants to make the playoffs, which I'm sure he does, he shouldn't have to. Again, Luke Walton's not a CYO coach. It's not like Luke Walton is an idiot that has no idea what he's doing.
Nobody's saying that.
Well, if LeBron can't listen and buy in, why not for 25 games?
Hey, there's only so many Greg Popoviches and
Phil Jacksons
in the world. So, you're not going to go bring some elite coach in, I don't think, to work with LeBron and get the best out of him. I can't believe that's like what we're trying
That's
to do.
been the narrative with how many of the you said it, Ty Lue even, David Blatt, Eric Spoelstra. It was a narrative with all of them.
It was, but they end up getting the personnel around them that fit, that LeBron wanted.
That's on the front office.
It is on the front office, but is the front office going to exit?
They're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere.
Look, again.
They're not going anywhere.
I'm just saying it would be a mistake right now. It's an excuse. And again, Luke is not blameless. He can be blamed.
This is what
I'm saying.
This is what happened in sports.
Everybody's trying to protect their back. LeBron, I want to protect my rep if I don't make the playoffs. Magic and Pelinka, we want to protect our rep for the last year we were together.
100%.
The young players, we want to. No,
yes,
it ain't right.
But that's what happens. We do.
Nobody's saying it's right,
but you know it, Chris. You've been in it. You covered this league for 25 years.
I'm an upright man.
Yeah, okay.
If it's not right, don't do it.
And you
got enough to make the playoffs. Make them.
There you go.
I'm with you there.
Guys, this next one is going to be tough for me to get through. Is it time for my New York Giants to finally move on from Odell Beckham Jr.? Don't forget, you can check us out every day on the Fox Sports channel and on Sirius XM.
No mercy. Hey guys, Jenny Taft here with a word from TurboTax. It's nice to have a helping hand, especially when it's tax season and that hand is attached to a licensed tax professional. With TurboTax Live, you can talk to real CPAs and EAs on demand who can review your return with you before you file and make sure you get your maximum refund. They can even check your work line by line so you can be confident it's done right. Who knew confidence and peace of mind could be synonymous with taxes? TurboTax Live with CPAs and EAs on demand. See details at TurboTax.com.
No mercy. Is Odell Beckham Jr. done in New York? Fox Sports' Jay Glazer predicted yesterday that Odell will get traded this offseason. Odell signed a monster contract this past offseason, but his season ended for the second year in a row with an injury. Adding to that, he's been a fixture in the headlines for the wrong reasons and prone to emotional outbursts on the sideline over the last few years. Well, after Glazer's prediction, Beckham posted this cryptic tweet with 2 emojis. Guess he's keeping his mouth shut, but he's happy about it. I don't know how to interpret that one, Greg, but we'll start with you. What do you think? Time to move on from the Giants?
If I'm the Giants, absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is one of your best players when healthy, and when given a great opportunity to compete at a high level. And when I look at Odell Beckham, I look at a young man that we give a hard, we judge him off of everything that we've seen in the past, but we overlook all the good in the pros about him. This year, even when we look at that tweet, we say, is it a cryptic tweet? He's just saying, my mouth is shut.
Within the very happy face.
In the happy face. He could be happy. What's wrong with that?
Come on,
I don't know how to read.
No, this year,
I didn't
coming
take
into
Emoji 101 in college. So
I didn't either. But coming into this year, Odell Beckham was not under contract. They signed him or he was under contract. He wanted a new deal, got a new deal, big contract, and everybody's like, don't pay him. Why would you pay him? He brings all this other stuff. Did we have any issue with Odell this year? No. Did the Giants have any issue with Odell Beckham?
The Lil Wayne interview.
No.
That was it. That wasn't that bad. I'm with you.
There was nothing wrong with that. My point is we pick and we pry at little things to make them bigger than what they are. The fact of the matter is, Odell Beckham is one of the best receivers in all of football when healthy and when having a quarterback that can get him the football. Sorry to hurt you and make you cry and tear up a little bit, Jamie, about Eli, but that's the problem in New York. When I look at Odell Beckham, his stats last year, he had 77 receptions. As a wide receiver, being that effective, your running back had 91, Saquon Barkley. Love everything about Saquon Barkley, but it tells me that Eli Manning is not pushing the ball down the field. He is going to dink and dunk. He's going to go check down first, so you can't even utilize the asset that you really have in an Odell Beckham. Where's he most effective? Down the field, putting pressure on the secondary in deep thirds. Eli Manning doesn't thrive in that area. That's not his level of expertise. He wants to dink and dunk. Look at the Giants. They were 4th in the National Football League in yards after the catch with 2,108 yards after the catch. These are all yards, mind you, that goes to the quarterback statistics. Yards, that means when you throw me the ball, whether it be at 2 yards, 10, or 15, and I get an extra 30, 40, I credit that to you. That's my work. And so when I'm looking at what the Giants have done, they continue to mask how bad Eli Manning really is because of how great they are with the ball after getting it in their possession. And Saquon Barkley has a lot to do with that. Sterling Shepard has a lot to do with that, and Odell Beckham, more than probably any, has even more to do with that.
Now, Greg, I'm an Odell Beckham. I like him as a receiver. I enjoy watching him. He's one of the best. But the argument you're making, if that's the case, Eli hasn't changed. He shouldn't have signed a deal in New York.
He has changed.
No, I'm not talking about. No. I'm talking about
Odell.
If Eli can't do those things, that hasn't changed since he signed that contract. That was already going on. Is what I'm saying to you is he shouldn't have signed on with Eli knowing that he's going to be the quarterback. He should ask the Giants to move him because he can't use his talent.
Come on now.
I'm not going to buy that.
If Odell Beckham goes outright and says, no, I'm not signing until you move Eli Manning, what would we be talking about? He's selfish.
I don't want to sign here because the offense and what you do here doesn't enhance my talent. You can't tell me that after the fact, Greg. It would be different if Eli was throwing the ball downfield.
You're saying
and now he's not.
5 years,
it's not your turn yet. Can I go? Yes. You can't use that, Greg.
No,
you can't use that. Tom Brady dinks and dunks all over the field. They praise Tom Brady.
Well, he wins Super Bowl.
Now you're going to tell me that Eli, because he dinks and dunks, you shouldn't count the yards for him? Come on now, that ain't right. And I'm on Odell Beckham Jr.'s side. I don't have a problem. He's wired different. I don't want a choir boy. I don't want everybody to be the same. I remember Rasheed Wallace in Detroit. Everybody would say, Rasheed, what's wrong with you? Why are you acting this way? That's how he's wired. That's why they won a championship. They needed a guy like that. I don't have a problem with the off the field and him being him. But don't tell me that about the Eli thing is the reason that he's going to act out. You shouldn't have signed there. If
Eli's no problem.
Eli's no good. I said that for 2 years. He's no good.
Hold on, but here's the thing.
No, but I don't buy your argument that it's all about, okay, because Eli is not doing what he wants. He knew that when he signed the contract. Yes or no, Greg? Did he not know that?
He did know that, but he also had the idea that everyone else has. Oh, this time with Eli is almost up. We're going to be getting somebody else to take its place.
But he didn't know who that was going to be.
It doesn't matter.
Why?
It doesn't matter, but that's appealing.
Moved on from Eli.
Yes, but I'm just telling you when he signed the contract, Eli was in play.
But here's the thing. Greg was not saying Odell's acting out because he's frustrated with Eli. Because number one, he's not acting out. He just said
but you're saying why he's not happy though, right?
He didn't say he's not happy. His emoji has cheeks, right? That means you're happy. All Greg said, he said he hasn't been a problem this whole past season, which he wasn't. Even like you said, the Lil Wayne thing wasn't a big deal. People made it a big deal. He hasn't acted out. What he said is that First of all, he's got great production. 77 catches. I mean, it's not where he should be.
No, he missed 4 games.
Right.
He got it.
He had good production, and he would have better if he had a better
Greg,
quarterback.
you know this too. I get that. I'm telling you, Eli's finished. I told you that, Chris.
So why are you
I
defending?
agree. But I'm gonna say this: you can accept any other stuff that OBJ's doing when you win. When you don't win, people look at all the other stuff, and I think that's why. And I'm not saying it's his fault that the Giants didn't win. This is 2 years in a row where the Giants were stinky, weren't good. So when you look at that, people have a tendency to frown on a guy who's making a lot of money. His production is just okay, and you might say, was it great?
He's wildly viewed, Rob, as one of the best receivers.
I agree with that.
Widely viewed. So nobody's
Wait. You're saying his production was okay. You give him 4 more games.
When you don't win, it's okay.
Let me tell. Since
he's a 1,000-yard receiver. You give him 4 more games.
Right.
He ends up with at least 1,300 yards.
But did it translate to winning?
Okay, let me answer that for you, Rob.
No, because their team is just not good.
I agree.
Let me answer that.
Specifically at the quarterback position.
As a wide receiver, your wins, obviously, wide receivers are very important, but you look at some of the best ones in the league. Julio Jones, Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, Adam Thielen. None of them made the playoffs. It wasn't that they can't produce, that they're not one of the best receivers in the league. It was that the team wasn't good enough. And in some cases, the quarterback wasn't good enough.
That's funny because when you did the quarterbacks, you named those guys.
The only top receivers that really made the playoffs were from the Rams and the Chiefs. And they have great quarterbacks. So I'm saying for those fans that want to look at Odell and say, you know what, we should move him because as good as he is, we aren't winning. No, that's not the receiver's fault. Get him a better team, build around him, and you guys can win.
My argument is with the whole quarterback situation. All I'm saying is if he knew that he was going to be in the spot and the Giants let everybody know that Eli was coming back, Eli was going to stay in that spot, he shouldn't have signed there if Eli can't get him.
He's not complaining, though. OBJ isn't complaining, Rob.
But my point to that, Rob, is if Odell Beckham comes out and says, I don't want to be here.
He doesn't have to say it publicly.
No. If he says it to anyone, some way, somehow, we're going to find out about it. You want to know why? Because they're going to blast whatever he says and project it in a way to make him look like the typical receiver. Diva, selfish, Odell Beckham. It's all about him.
What was the name that what team was he linked with before he had gotten the
Rams.
deal? Oh, yeah. You know why? Because they scored 33 points. They throw the ball down the field. I don't blame him.
But the rumor was that the Giants were looking to trade him. They were looking to trade him.
I just feel
I'm sure he would rather be with the Rams.
The question is it time for the Giants to move on?
I said no.
No, they should not move on. They should not move on from Odell Beckham. He's a young player with mass production lying ahead of him. No, I'm not even talking about what he's done. He has so much more that he yet can still do. Eli Manning is offensively, because defensively, we're not going to even open that door. That's a big Pandora's box that needs to be just kept closed. Offensively, Eli Manning is the problem.
Right.
He's the one that should be out, not Odell Beckham.
I said it 2 years ago. So
they should have drafted a quarterback last year.
We talked about it on the radio.
I don't mind them not drafting the quarterback because you got Saquon Barkley.
I need a quarterback more than a running back.
Yes.
You got Saquon Barkley, so you
okay. Then draft Dwayne Haskins if you can this year.
Well, Saquon Barkley didn't help Odell Beckham Jr., and that's the problem. So you might have gotten a player from the running back spot, but did you help your big wide receiver that you just paid a ton of money?
Barkley, you're right. Barkley was great. I mean, he's arguably the best back in the league already. I'm just saying the quarterback position is much more important.
When we saw, there was times when Pat Shurmur is on the sideline, and Odell will come to the sideline, and he would embrace him, saying, it's okay. Like, pretty much saying, I understand. You don't have to say anything. This is why we see the zip lip emoji, because internally, they know. Eli Manning is on a time clock. Like, they know Odell isn't the problem.
Right.
It isn't this guy. Like, we need you. We want you to stay locked in. Keep your hand to the plow. Keep your head down. Continue to work. Stay healthy and continue to produce for us because we'll get you what you need.
So if Jay Glazer is right and his prediction comes true, what would be the reason the Giants would have traded OBJ? That would be my question to you.
And my answer would be I would have to try to ask and find out. Period.
You would be totally stunned that the Giants
I would
moved
be
him.
stunned.
Okay.
I would
say they got blown away with the offer. That's
I would be stunned.
I would say that there's some internal stuff that people don't all know about.
No. If you feel like you're going to acquire more assets that can solidify your chance of
talent
winning.
like that.
Well, the Giants have a lot of areas to address. So
Exactly.
It depends on what kind of assets they can get. And thank you for not making me jump on Eli.
Are you verklempt now?
I did not want to do that. I'm not verklempt.
Okay.
But
Look, and we both agree.
Should Eli
I think
still be there? No, I'm just.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer. So we're not jumping on Eli, but he's 38. It's just time.
McAdoo with the bad hair benched Eli. I was outraged by that decision.
But you know it was the right decision.
No, I don't think it was the
Really?
right decision. I think that was wrong, and I think that put the entire fan base on a sympathetic side with Eli. And then last season.
So it forces this year to come to this because they feel like, well, let's keep Eli there because the fan base is upset.
They did that last year. That was the year they appeased the fans.
No mercy. Next up, the Celtics were without Kyrie Irving again last night, but once again, it didn't matter. They beat the Pistons by 8 to improve to 9-2 without Kyrie in the lineup. The Celtics are now tied for the 4th in the East with the Sixers. Kyrie can become a free agent at the end of the season, and he hasn't set in stone if he'll be back in Boston next year. Former Celtic Antoine Walker was on First Things First this week and was asked about Kyrie's future in Boston. Take a listen.
Do I think he's going to stay? No. I believe he's going to leave. I think Kyrie's has shown us it's not about necessarily winning championships with him. I think New York is probably the place that presents the best option for him for what he wants to do. With the shoe deal he has with Nike, the individual where he could be a star there going back home. I just don't think he's a true Celtic. You know, it's like when you're a Celtic, you kind of want to be there. I played there 7 years of my career. I saw Paul Pierce there. I know how true Celtics are. I don't think Kyrie's yet a true Celtic and believes he's a true Celtic.
Ooh, he's not a true Celtic. Chris, what do you think? Is Kyrie getting too much heat?
Well, I'm going to give Antoine the benefit of the doubt and say he means it in that he doesn't think Kyrie's heart is into being a Celtic. I don't think he's saying Kyrie doesn't have the makeup, the game, and all that of a true Celtic. I'm just going to give him that credit. However, that other people talking, all the rumblings, yes, Kyrie is catching too much heat. I know, Greg, you're going to say they're better without him because they're 9-2. Well, guess what? Toronto is 13-3 without Kawhi Leonard. Are they better without him? Are they better without Kawhi Leonard?
Are we talking about Toronto?
Okay, that's a no. That's a no. All right. Look, Boston can be good, really good without Kyrie. We saw that the other night in Philadelphia or against Philadelphia. But they can't win a championship without him. And in Boston, it's about titles. They have more than anybody else. That's what it's about. Kyrie Irving is clutch. He is a winner. He, along with Ray Allen's shot in Miami, are arguably the two biggest shots in NBA history, certainly in modern day NBA history. And he hit it with ice in his veins. When you're playing with the best player in the world, and the best player in the world goes to you at the end of the game, you know you a bad boy. Kyrie Irving is also at his best in the biggest moments, as I just explained, but against the best teams. This year, against Golden State, he drops 32 and 10 assists. This year, against the other juggernauts of the East, Philadelphia, 40 points, 10 rebounds.
Preach, Chris.
Against Toronto, 43 points, 11 assists. Against Milwaukee, 28 and 7, all W's. Yes, if you want to win a championship, you need Kyrie Irving, and no one knows that better than Danny Ainge. And with all due respect to Antoine Walker and his shimmy, all right, Danny Ainge knows more about being a Celtic than Antoine Walker. He won championships in their hallowed years in the 80s, and he built a championship team recently with the big three.
And only a handful of guys have ever done that, one as a player and as an executive.
And Danny Ainge, for all the talk, for the gaudy 9-2 record without Kyrie, for all the talk that he might be leaving, he is dead set on we are bringing back Kyrie because he knows, yes, Rozier's a nice player. Yes, Marcus Smart's a nice player. But if I want another ring, I need a superstar, and that's what Kyrie Irving is.
You know, sometimes somebody can be dead set on what they want, but if you don't want it, doesn't mean it's going to happen. What Antoine Walker is simply saying is what we all see. Like, we don't know if Kyrie really wants to still be there next year, moving forward. I'm not saying all you said, great. Statistically, great. I believe that they are better without Kyrie Irving. And simple reasons for this. I'm not going to give you all the numbers. I gave you those numbers yesterday. But when you look at a Celtic team and you look at the dynamic that they have without Kyrie Irving, I'm not saying they don't have fun with Kyrie Irving, but they're more included. When you watch them play the other night, on the bench, guys excited, involved, really, it's like they're playing even more, giving more for one another because they understand this is what we had to do last year. And this is, we got far and we got deep into the playoffs last year without Kyrie. And now we have a Gordon Hayward, an additional scorer and an additional defender. So we have this nucleus of talent. We don't necessarily need Kyrie. We're not saying he's not a great player. We're not saying he doesn't provide all those numbers and all that flash. But can he win a champion? Can we just win a championship because of Kyrie? And you're telling me we can't get it done without? I don't.
Yes,
these guys don't believe that. I don't believe that.
Well, we saw it last year when they were up 2-0 against the Cavaliers.
You keep talking.
Why?
You keep
because
going
that's
to
fact.
that. You keep going to that.
They were up 2-0,
but you're
Greg.
not. But
they were up.
And you wouldn't.
But
you couldn't use one of the arguably best clutch player in the world.
I'm not
in that moment in Game 7.
I'm not gonna just accredit that to just them not having Kyrie Irving. They were without Gordon Hayward as well. Let's not make it seem like Gordon Hayward was not this attractive.
He was gone, though, after
I understand all of that, but he is back now. And so they do have him without Kyrie Irving.
But
so
Greg,
they're not a better team?
But, Greg,
they're not any better? Because with the addition and the acquisition and the activeness of Gordon Hayward right now, they're no better.
But he's not a superstar, and that's what you need to win.
And
I mean,
Chris,
championships.
With all the numbers you put up, Kyrie against Golden State in the finals averaged 28 points against the best team going. He knocked down the game-winning shot. And yes, he is that guy. You keep talking about, hold on, Greg, the end of the year during the playoffs, Chris, remind me when they started the year with Kyrie, his first year in Boston, they ran off 14 or 15 wins to start the season with those young guys. Don't tell me he can't play with them and that they can only play without him. Don't you remember that?
They couldn't play with him.
Hold on, during this recent stretch when he was going off for like 30 points and 10 assists a night, they were 6-1 with him. So they look good. You're right. They pounded Detroit last night. They're a very good team without Kyrie.
But don't they also realize
to get to the pinnacle?
Listen,
you need.
And Greg, they realize
where you're going, and you're talking about what he did alongside LeBron James and against the Warriors. The style of play fit Kyrie even more. This is a different style of play. This is a different system in Boston. This is more of a team-oriented, team-driven, not an ISO. But we stand and watch you, then you get us involved when you feel like it.
Is it about winning or style points?
It's about winning,
about everybody
and
like
they're winning without him.
But you're acting like it's a CYO game. Well, everybody got to play. We used all 11 guys, and that's great. It's about winning the game, and they're winning.
Without him.
They win without him.
They do win with him.
They win with him. It's not like they're.
But their percentages of winning are better without him.
No, I just think that Danny Ainge understands what it takes to win a championship. And that's why Kyrie, if he really believed that he already had the pieces, why would you make a deal to even get him Greg, he knows it deep down. He can't win. It's like LeBron. You like these young pieces,
he
Chris?
made the deal.
He knows he can't win.
He made the
Doesn't
deal.
he know? He knows it, Greg.
He made the deal to get Kyrie, but he also made the deal to get Gordon Hayward. So now they have Gordon Hayward still on the hardwood, still playing and performing with all these other guys, and Kyrie is out. Nobody's saying that Kyrie is not effective and that you can't win without him, but they are proving that they are winning without him, and they are better.
This is what it boils down to. Can Gordon Hayward be the best player on a championship team?
He doesn't have to be the best player on the championship team.
Did anybody on that team outside of Kyrie Irving, can they be the best player on a championship
Jason Tatum, no doubt in my mind. You say he can't?
Right now, maybe, look, I like Jason, so maybe down the line.
It's the same thing that happened last year in the playoffs. We saw Jaylen Brown's game elevate. Why? Because they had to. They were put up to a challenge, and they stepped up to the plate. This is what Brad Stevens does with talent. He brings it and he elevates it.
But they don't win with Brad Stevens when he goes up against other teams that have star players. He doesn't win. Give me the championship that he won in college without a star player.
I don't want to hear this college.
Why?
I don't want to hear the college.
All of that. And last year, Game 7 in Boston, what did they do? That young, rah-rah, all these guys, what did they do? They missed 27 three-pointers. They weren't ready for the stage or the lights. They weren't ready.
Kyrie would have hit one.
Yes. He would have hit two, Chris, and they would have won the game.
Gordon Hayward would have hit one or possibly two as well.
Well, let's see if Hayward can get back to what he was. I don't know what he did last night, but he had
18
the night before.
If he stays around that 18, 20, 22 points a game, we're good because we know Jason Tatum is going to get us buckets. Marcus Morris is going to get us buckets. We have so many guys that can get us buckets. Al Horford's going to get us.
But it boils down to this, because again, with the Celtics, with Danny Ainge, it's about championships. It's not about being in the hunt. It's not about winning the East. It's not about getting, to the finals. It's about hanging banners. And look, I'm with you. Like, Boston is really tough. And I said yesterday, they would beat Philadelphia without Kyrie, with or without him. But to win a championship, you need that superstar. And that, by the way, is also why Danny Ainge is going to throw everything he has at Anthony Davis.
Because he knows it.
He knows you need that caliber of player to win titles. That's what it boils down to.
Greg, just because you have a green suit on the day.
If you just want him to be good, Greg, that's all right. No. But if you want to win championships, you need Kyrie.
Look, ain't nobody winning championships other than Golden State, so why are we talking about championships?
To have a hope and a prayer.
Oh, so now you just want to have a hope and a prayer.
You got nothing.
They got a hope and a prayer.
Guys, don't worry. We're going to revisit this topic when Brian Scalabrine joins us in a little bit. But for now, should the Bronco fans still have faith in John Elway after yet another failed quarterback experiment? We'll discuss that one next.
No mercy.
February isn't just about one super-sized football game. On Spotify, there's thousands of free sports podcasts that agonize over the preseasons, off-seasons, and plain old regular seasons of nearly every sport imaginable. Basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, curling, and even hurling. Yeah, that's a real sport. Look it up. Now it's so easy to stay updated with the latest trade rumors, predictions, and scorching hot takes from some of your favorite game's biggest names. So take it one episode at a time and give 110% of your attention to the thousands of free sports podcasts on Spotify, because the best offense is a good podcast.
No mercy.
Joe Flacco was traded in principle by the Ravens yesterday and is heading to Denver. 9 News in Denver reports the Broncos chose Flacco after, quote, kicking the tires on Nick Foles because Flacco fits better with the Denver's offensive coordinator. Flacco will be the third new quarterback in the last 3 seasons, and Denver has missed the playoffs for 3 straight years since winning the Super Bowl in 2015. Elway's been under fire for failed experiments with the likes of Brock Osweiler, Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch, and Case Keenum. So, guys, Rob, we'll start with you. You still have faith in John Elway?
No way, no how. You've heard of people calling people the quarterback whisperer. John Elway is officially the quarterback wastelander, because all he does is get quarterbacks after the fact or who are no good. For a guy who was so great as a quarterback and won 2 Super Bowls, I just don't understand where he's going here. Flacco, the last 5 years in the NFL, Greg Jennings, worst quarterback rating in the league. Never made a Pro Bowl. I know you could go back and talk about 2012 and the unbelievable year he put together.
Or 2014 when they won. When he helped them get to the playoffs.
No, 2012.
Well.
2012 when they were
10-6.
No, I'm talking about the Super Bowl year when he had 11 touchdowns and no picks throughout the postseason.
I'm with you.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
I got that year, but that was a long time ago. John Elway has swung and missed over and over and over. And you mentioned the names, Simeon and Paxton Lynch and Brock Osweiler. Didn't he have him twice? I mean, he didn't even realize he took him and then got rid of him and then got him back.
Right.
Twice.
He strikes a strong figure. He can fool you. He's 6'8".
Is that what it is?
He looked good.
And then here's the other thing. Everybody was to say, we get it. Flacco can throw the ball better than Case Keenum. I get that. But the numbers the last 2 years are almost identical. They're almost identical. This is not an upgrade. It's a downgrade. Why in the world is John Elway doing this? It doesn't make any sense. If you want to go out and get a quarterback and say, hey, I got somebody, and he's definitely better than the guy we had, I get that. This guy is not. Flacco's done. That's why Baltimore moved on. Denver made a big mistake. And John Elway continues to bring wasteland quarterbacks to Denver.
I'm not going to defend his quarterback record.
Because you can't.
No, you can't.
It's impossible.
Right. But I do think Flacco is a slight upgrade over Case Keenum. And I don't think, if they were looking at Joe Flacco as our answer, our savior for the next 5 years, I'd be worried. But he's on a non-guaranteed contract. I think he's an upgrade because he can throw the deep ball. Case Keenum really doesn't. He's a proven winner. Case Keenum really isn't. You know, I know he won the Super Bowl. You're right. It was a while ago. But he is a proven winner. And you'll talk about his stats. Oh, among starters, he's at the worst this, the worst that. He's a perennial starter, though. Case Keenum isn't even a perennial starter.
What does that mean?
Nobody cares about that.
It means he's a starting caliber quarterback, and Case Keenum for both.
Was he starting in Baltimore?
Has not been. Just now.
Why not? Why not?
I'm not saying he's great.
Because he was out of the playoffs.
I'm saying he's better than Case Keenum.
Blake Bortles is a starting quarterback, but what's your point?
Let me answer the question. Because the question wasn't, have you lost faith in John Elway getting you a quarterback? The question was, have you lost faith in John Elway as the leader of the Denver Broncos? And I answer with a hearty no. John Elway, he's put Denver back on the map. The 5 years before he got there, they had missed the playoffs.
Old news.
It's news. It's truth. The 5 years.
Old news.
When you talked yesterday about Arizona going to hire a coach, going to get a quarterback, what do you look at? His resume. I'm giving you John Elway's resume, not as a great player, but as a great executive. All right, they missed the playoffs 5 straight years before he got there. They were 4-12 the year before he got there.
They make the playoffs.
He took them to the playoffs. They've been his first 100.
I'm asking you.
Let me finish.
What was their record that year?
His first 100 games as a GM, he won more games than any other GM in their first 100 games in league history. That includes Al Davis, Bill Polian, Tex Schramm. 71 games. So 2 bad seasons, you're going to throw him out? Who hasn't had 2 bad seasons other than the guys in New England? What other front office in the NFL? Does Pittsburgh have a good front office? Yes, but it's a mess there. They just missed the playoffs. Does Philadelphia have a good offense?
Was he a former quarterback?
Yes.
Was he a former quarterback?
A lot of times. We talked about it yesterday.
They had a great defense, and they got a championship because they got Peyton Manning, who wanted to come to Denver,
exactly.
right?
He's not the only front office guy that hasn't been able to get a quarterback.
But this is who we're talking about.
We're talking
about John Elway, though.
My point is, are you ready to fire? He shouldn't be running the Denver Broncos? Because that was the question. I stick on task. All right? The question was, should he be running the Broncos? Not, can he pick a quarterback? He should definitely be running the Broncos.
So the reason why the question is being asked is because of the acquisition in the trade for a Joe Flacco, a quarterback, an area that John Elway has struggled. So then the question then is arise, do you still have faith in John Elway? And we're basically asking about his quarterbacking.
No,
that's
we
what
are.
we're talking about, Chris. Let's not try to change the narrative.
That's the reason why we're talking about it today.
Quarterback come out of James.
But why are we talking about it today?
Because we're talking about quarterbacks. And when we look at it, you talk about all these records that he had. First general manager, 100 wins. I don't care about that.
Really? Why not? That's wins. Not to mention the Super Bowl. 5 playoff appearances.
Before Peyton Manning got there, they were 20-28. Since Peyton Manning has left, they're 20-28. They don't win, and it's because they haven't been able to put a quarterback in the position that Peyton Manning left them void.
I get it.
Peyton Manning leaves a big void.
Right.
Do you think they should be focusing on other positions?
No, they have to get the quarterback position right. You have to get the quarterback position right. And he hasn't done it. Nobody's saying it's easy. But you're John Elway, so you're going to be automatically, it's like Michael Jordan. Everybody's like, Mike, you got to get this right. How come you can't evaluate talent? You're the greatest player of all time.
Why did you draft Kwame Brown?
Yeah, and so when I look at this, Michael
Jordan does not have an NBA championship as an executive. He does not have 5 straight playoff appearances as an executive.
Listen, you acquire Brock Osweiler. The same draft, you could have got Russell Wilson. You could have got Nick Foles. You could have even acquired Kirk Cousins. But no, let me take this Brock Osweiler guy.
Yes, please.
He's a good guy.
I'm not defending his quarterback.
He looks the part. He's more like me. You know what? And this is the same thing, the same trend I'm seeing. He's doing it all over again with Joe Flacco.
Because
he's a big quarterback. He has a big arm.
Is he better
and he's
than
not
Case
doing it. Nope.
He's not better than Case Keenum.
Nope, he's not. He's better looking than Case Keenum.
And does he not throw the long ball better than Case Keenum?
From a quarterback perspective.
Thank you for clarifying.
When I look at these stats, you said the last 2 seasons. I got the last 2 seasons as at least 25 game starter. Flacco 13-12, Case Keenum 17-13, 64% completion percentage for Case Keenum, 62% for Flacco.
Was Flacco throwing to Stephon Diggs? And
I don't care about.
No matter who you throwing to. No,
I don't care about all that.
You know how much important a receiver is and the quality of your receivers.
Did Case Keenum get the credit he deserved for throwing to those?
Yeah, he got a nice contract with Denver.
And so now you push him out because
we got to watch him for
Joe
a whole
Flacco,
16
a guy who just got benched for a rookie quarterback coming in because he wasn't gonna allow us to advance to the postseason. But you know what? I'll take him because he looks the part. He looks better than what I have right now. And what I thought I was getting into with Case Keenum, which I was wrong there too. Not saying Case Keenum is great, but he was wrong there too. You know what? Let me fill this up. Let me cover this up with Joe Flacco and then try to usher Case Keenum out the window and try to acquire some acquisitions for him. John Elway has just completely demolished this quarterback asset. Like, he's gotten it wrong every single year.
Except Peyton.
He didn't
Peyton Manning.
He didn't have to do anything. Peyton Manning chose them.
Yes, but Indianapolis chose to move on from Peyton. And Peyton, how long was he in Indianapolis?
Because they had a plan. They had Andrew Luck.
Let me ask you a question.
Because they got it right.
Yes, how long was he in Indianapolis?
It doesn't
Roughly
matter.
11 years, whatever it was. He got 1 Super Bowl. He was in Denver for 3 years. Got 1 Super Bowl and wasn't at his best.
Went to 2.
Yeah, so my point is, John Elway, when Indianapolis, a good front office, got rid of him, thought he couldn't win anymore. It wasn't a matter. No. It wasn't a matter of Indian. It wasn't a matter of the coach thinking that he couldn't win anymore. They saw an opportunity to acquire what they felt they could continue to advance their franchise with in an Andrew Luck sitting at the number 1 pick, number 1, number 2 slot. I can get him.
And they had a quarterback with a fused neck.
Yes.
I mean, that was the logical decision to make.
He had a fused neck in Denver, too.
You know, he played well.
He did play well.
And the year that they won the Super Bowl, he didn't play well.
Who put that team around him?
But we're not saying that.
Who put that team around him?
That same team went 20-8 without him. As soon as he left,
who put
20-28? I'm sorry.
Who put that team around Peyton?
But he just gave you
that
number.
That took a decrepit Peyton Manning to the Super Bowl.
They had an unbelievable defense. We know that.
Who built that team?
Wait a minute.
Who built that team?
Peyton Manning's last year, he completely fell off the cliff, and that defense propelled them to where they got to in the Super Bowl. I get
Who
that
built
to
that
win
defense?
that. John Elway.
Okay, that's all.
John Elway.
That's
but
all. That's part of the question. Jamie asked the question.
You guys are on fire.
What quarterback does he have?
He's got to do better with quarterbacks. I get it. I'm just saying he can build a team. He's proven that. And he'll get the quarterback straight like him.
Oh, he'll
one
get
of these years.
Yeah, he'll get it.
He's been saying it for years.
He'll get it straight one of these years.
He's gonna be right.
I was right about the Lakers.
Look, I'm done on John Elway and
as president of the team.
He's not getting it done at the quarterback position.
But what about the rest of the team?
They're not good. He gave you the numbers, Chris. What part don't you get?
I don't get why you're ready. I don't get why you're ready to discard a general manager.
You want to know why?
Super Bowl. Yeah,
you want to know why? Because you need a superstar at the quarterback position.
Oh,
you need a superstar at the quarterback position.
Is Nick Foles a superstar?
Absolutely.
Please.
Guys, that was
he
fun.
wasn't that Super Bowl.
Did Kyler Murray's agent call Rob Parker a loser yesterday? What
was that?
Did he?
Wow.
We'll discuss it next. Kyler Murray's agent.
No mercy.
Kyler Murray chose the NFL over baseball earlier this week. Now the attention is on how high he'll go in the draft. Kyler is the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, but a lot of critics are focused on his 5'10" stature. Kyler's agent called out the critics recently on a Barstool Sports podcast, saying, quote, the NFL dinosaurs that are talking about the things he can't do are losers. Rob,
was he talking about me?
We're not calling you a dinosaur. But do you think that Kyler should be upset with the criticism about his height?
Yeah. No, he shouldn't. He'd have to accept it. It is his height. We understand. We talked about it, Greg. You were just talking about John Elway picking quarterbacks who look like him in size. So that's a part of what goes on. But all of the mock drafts and stuff coming out say he's going to be a first-round pick. So it's not like he's totally being overlooked or people aren't even considering him. So I don't even understand why this would come out and why his agent would put it out so people can look and say, what? You know, what's going on? This is what people do when they judge people. Chris, we talk about it all the time. You nitpick, right? If you're going to make somebody a first-round pick, Greg, don't you nitpick at him and look and say, okay, he can do this, he can do that, but can he do that? Does he have the right speed? Does he have the right size? Is his weight right? This is what people do when you start to evaluate people. So that they're not treating him unfairly or doing something that other people wouldn't get when you're going to be a top pick in the NFL draft. He's already gotten a lot of respect. We mentioned it over and over. He has a chance to be the first player to be drafted in the first round in two sports, baseball and football. It's never happened in the history of this country. So do they respect him as a player? Absolutely. Can people question whether or not his height is going to be an issue in the league? Absolutely. That's what analysts do. That's what scouts do. His agent is way off base.
Yeah, he shouldn't be concerned about the criticism. You can't focus on all of that. And what the agent is doing is making matters worse. Not for his draft status, but just simply for Kyler Murray. Like, he doesn't need this type of attention. He doesn't care about them talking about his height. He understands how tall he is, 5'9", a buck 95,
right,
soaking wet. Nobody's really saying he can change that. We know he can't change that, but one thing I know that he can do is play football. And in football, there's this idea that, you know what, only one team needs to like me. There's only one team needs to say, I don't care, I'll give him a shot. So with the agent calling out all these NFL dinosaurs, so what? If some of these owners and these general managers in these teams say, yeah, I'm not going to touch him, so what? There's 32 options. And if you think that all 32 of these teams are going to pass on a talent like Kyler Murray, when everybody is going, I gave you guys the stats of the shotguns. Offenses are run out of shotgun. The offensive snaps in the National Football League, 67% are out of shotgun. So his height has no bearings in that. No one cares about the height after you're under center or unless you're under center. Well, with 67%, almost 70% of snaps being from shotgun, Kyler Murray is in this new evolution of NFL. We're not in the dinosaur days of NFL where you're playing under center. So why are you even entertaining this as an agent? You understand where you alluded to it. Like, he's projected to go in the first round.
But there's a lot of money at stake.
No, I get that, but you bring in a whole nother side of issues or topics or questions that now I as a player have to answer because of you opening your mouth. Like, look, as an agent, all it takes is one team. So you shouldn't even concern yourself with all 32 teams. You're not going to all 32 teams in the first place.
If there was like a stream of GMs, right, that said, no, I wouldn't take him in the first round under any circumstance, then maybe I could see where you would push back. But that's not what we've heard.
But you also don't need to push back with the term losers. I mean, these are guys you want to employ your client, okay? And even if they don't draft you, maybe you end up there in the future. So this quote.
Another client.
Yeah, this quote, I don't know who his agent is, but this quote makes me think his agent is like a 22-year-old that just got out of college.
It's a little
or dropped out.
Yeah.
It's immature, it's childish. Now, the fact that he said it on Barstool, maybe he got caught up within the language and, and all that, the rebellious
trying to say they're not reputable?
Atmosphere. And, well, they just, they just talk, they don't talk professional language, so they're cursing and stuff like that. So maybe he got caught up in all of that. But this was not a good look. And unfortunately, it can reflect negatively on Kyler. I mean, I get the sentiment behind what he's saying, as you pointed out, with the shotgun, with the RPOs. It's a different NFL. He could have brought up something like, look, Kyler's already done something that basically nobody his size has done. I don't know about forever, but since 2000, of the 16 quarterbacks that won the Heisman, only Kyler was under 6 feet tall. So you could talk about things like that, like put that in teams on their plate and let them think about that. He's already proven that this is a once-in-a-generation type kid because he won the Heisman at his size. It's not just the NFL where short quarterbacks have struggled. College, too, to a lesser degree, but still they've struggled. So you can point out things like that rather than going at people who know football. No matter how bad we may say a GM is or a team president or a coach, they know football.
That's their business.
Right. And so for somebody to just come out of the blue, an agent, and criticize him like that just wasn't a good move.
It's just counterproductive to what the message that even Kyler Murray had put out saying, I'm locked in on football. I'm choosing football. I'm passionate about football. Then at the end of his statement, he went on to say, I want to show all NFL decision makers that I am the franchise quarterback. Yeah. All NFL decision makers that I am the franchise quarterback. He's not saying I am a franchise, I am the guy. Right. And he's saying that to all decision makers. And then your agent comes out and he says all these NFL dinosaurs.
Right.
Like, come on, you can't do that. I just put out a statement making sure that they understood how adamant and how real I am about football and how committed I am about football, fully committed, may I add. And you just go and do this?
Right. It came off really bad. It sounded like someone who's immature, maybe hadn't had a star player or something before because they didn't know how to handle the situation. I agree. It should have been positive stuff rather than about what he had done.
You could have said the same
rather
thing
than ripping on
in a much more professional
Exactly.
way.
You don't even have to acknowledge that because we know the NFL is evolving. We know that these smaller quarterbacks, look, it's been proven the year before. Johnny Manziel. Look at him. The Cleveland Browns, they had a plan.
Baker Mayfield.
I'm sorry, I said Johnny Manziel. Baker Mayfield.
Well, but they got him. It didn't work out, but they drafted him.
But Baker Mayfield last year, he's the template. Like the Cleveland Browns, nobody thought that the Cleveland Browns were going to pick Baker Mayfield. Everybody had Baker Mayfield third and fourth on their draft profile when it came to quarterbacks. They had Sam Darnold and all these other guys in front of him, but Cleveland Browns didn't care. The Cleveland Browns didn't care. It takes one team. And that's why I'm like, you're an agent. You know these things. Why would you even challenge all of the teams? It only takes one.
And you have the blueprint.
Do you think that would hurt his draft order, the way where he would go?
No, I don't.
Comments?
What the agent said?
I don't think it's gonna hurt. I don't think it's gonna hurt him because he didn't say it.
That guy. Right, it didn't come out of his mouth.
It didn't come out of his mouth. And sometimes, look, let's be honest. Agents say things to where they think that they're gonna advance our position.
That's a mistake.
And sometimes they hurt it. And in this instance, I don't think he hurt his position as where he can get drafted, but you didn't hurt his stance or you didn't help him in a sense of putting this out versus what I said in my statement to make sure all NFL decision makers know that I am the guy that you're looking for.
We probably won't hear from that agent again. Like, I bet you there's a conversation with his family.
If we
and him.
do,
Well, I was
you
gonna
know what I
say,
mean?
if he kept saying stuff like this, what it would do is make you question Kyler's decision making to some degree.
Yeah.
Like, this is the guy you have
You're choosing
representing.
to represent.
You'll let one
Yeah.
time go, but if he keeps doing it,
Yeah,
which
you don't want your
I doubt
agent
you'll hear from
because of
him.
this. Guys, are the Celtics somehow better without Kyrie Irving? Former Celtics legend Brian Scalabrine, the White Mamba, he's going to be here to answer that question next.
No mercy.
Well, the Celtics were without Kyrie Irving last night, but once again, it didn't matter. They beat the Pistons by 8 and tallied 32 assists to improve to 9-2 without Kyrie in the lineup. The Celtics are now tied for 4th in the East with the Sixers. Kyrie could become a free agent at the end of the season, and he hasn't set in stone if he'll be back in Boston next year. We're joined now by NBA champion and current Celtics analyst, Brian Scalabrine, in studio.
Where's the legend? You hit me with a legend on the team, and now that I'm here, you can't call me a legend.
He's a legend. He's a Celtics legend. We appreciate having you. You gave me a hard time. I thought maybe I would take that out of the title, but now I know. Moving forward, I will always address you as a
Now
legend.
you know he likes it.
And I want to go with the ginger mamba.
Yeah, that
I like
would
that
work.
better
better?
than the white mamba.
You guys know I carried that 08 team on my back, right? You guys know that.
For sure. So, Brian, set these guys straight.
Oh, wow.
Who do I have to set straight first?
Technically,
Well, we got to
Right
see
there.
where, we gotta see
Yeah,
where
we
you
gotta
are.
see where your take
let's see
is,
where
but
you
let's,
go.
let's
It's easy. So you want to win a championship. In Boston, it's not about participating in the playoffs. It's not about even going to the finals. You want to win, you got to have Hall of Fame special type of players. You guys all can agree that Kyrie is a Hall of Fame special type of
Talk
player.
to that man then.
That's the one you're correct.
You need to
No,
talk to
Regular season, I don't know about.
Don't be fooled by the Boston green.
Yeah, you got the nice suit. If I rocked that, they'd call me a leprechaun. But here's the thing. It's all about titles. And when you have Kyrie and you think about last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, their backs against the wall. They had a chance to get over the hump against LeBron. Couldn't do it. Couldn't close that game out. Kyrie is the closer. Kyrie is that next level of a type of player who lives for that moment and doesn't care about the pressure.
I understand all of that. And nobody's saying that Kyrie isn't that type of player. I believe he is. I know that he is.
He's backpedaling now.
No, I'm not backpedaling.
You said
There's
you
a
get
but.
better with
There's a
the
but. There's a
not a
but.
defensive back.
Can I finish?
Yeah, let him finish.
I've said all of what I'm saying now before. I've said all this about
You
Kyrie.
need some new material.
But they are on me.
Yeah.
But I believe that this Lakers team, this Celtics team, is better when Kyrie is not off the court. Or not on the court. And might I add this? You mentioned last year. This has been Rob's go-to. They melted in the conference.
All right, hold up. I'll just stop. Forget last year. They had a 28-point lead against the Clippers. Kyrie hurts his knee. They lost that game at home. I don't need to talk about last year. I'm talking about right now.
You're right, but the style of play had already been set. With Kyrie, they play a different style. Without him, the ball is popping. They had 32 assists last night, and they have Gordon Hayward. Like, are we just acting like Gordon Hayward is not a part of this team and that he wasn't out, or if he wasn't out last year and that he's in now? Are you saying that this team with Gordon Hayward can't get it done?
There's two things that you have to look at. If Kyrie is off this team, is Anthony Davis, which we don't even know if he's having the conversation with the Celtics, but is he even part of that? Because Anthony Davis also is a Hall of Fame type of player, an all-time great type of player. The only thing that's different between Kyrie and Anthony Davis is Kyrie has that one title with LeBron. Kyrie has to solidify himself as an all-time great by winning one without. Think about Kobe won with Shaq. You know, after he won, when he didn't have Shaq, that meant a whole lot more to him. Anthony Davis, for him to win multiple championships, it would be like going to Boston with Kyrie Irving. I'm not sure he's having that conversation if Kyrie's not there.
No doubt about it.
Okay.
But my point is, Kyrie is adding Kyrie to the mix. This Celtics team, it doesn't put them over the hump.
Yes, it does.
It puts them.
Yes,
So they're winning this year.
They could.
They could, though.
Against who? You mean in the Eastern Conference Finals they can win?
All right, let's get into the Eastern conversation. Toronto's a good team, and the Celtics are 1-12 in Toronto in the Brad Stevens era. So, like, you have to go in there and win a game if you don't have home court advantage, right? But we saw the other night, Kyrie dropped 30-plus and 18 assists against Toronto. Kawhi Leonard, big shot, Kyrie answers. Kawhi Leonard, big shot, Kyrie answers. Kawhi Leonard miss, Kyrie scores, wins the game, dominates the fourth quarter. You're not beating them without him. So you can have all the conversations about the ball movement,
and
the high assist.
you play and all that, and everybody's having fun. The bottom line is sports has a short menu. I tell it all the time. Wins and losses, and the Celtics are about winning championships. They know, Danny Ainge knows he can't win a championship without a Kyrie-type player. He needs a star player. It's nice, and that's why he would trade those pieces to get Anthony Davis.
They're not winning a championship this year anyway.
No, but that's not the point.
But this is going forward, too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
even if Golden State
they're beating
breaks
Golden
up.
State. Well, I'm not going to put that in.
I don't think they would. I don't think they would beat Golden State right now.
But they don't have a chance. If Golden State somehow falters, they're not winning it without Kyrie. If Golden State falters, they have a chance to win it because of Kyrie.
And you
mentioned what he does against Toronto. They're 3-1 against Toronto, I believe, this year. He's 30 points and 12 assists on 60% shooting. He is not the best player in the East. That would be Giannis or Kawhi when he plays, but he's the best clutch player in the East.
And we've also seen what he's been able to do against the Warriors on the big stage, in the big moments.
Right.
That's what you want to draw from. That's the guy I want to have on my team.
So if that's the case, then just wait, let him come in the fourth quarter.
No.
When we need a clutch player and a clutch shot and a closer. I know how polarizing of a player Kyrie Irving. I'm a huge Kyrie fan, but when it comes to the fit for the Lakers and what Brad Stevens is trying to do,
Celtics.
For the Celtics, I don't think they're a better team with Kyrie Irving.
Let me add, I want you to, because I do agree. The one place I agree with Greg is that the whole dynamic changes. And the problems with the chemistry, I believe, and have been told by some people, the young guys, they're looking at it like, we got to game 7 last year without Kyrie.
Didn't win.
Obviously, we played differently. The ball's moving. Rozier, Tatum, Brown, they're getting more shots. Versus when they have Kyrie, they play differently. We even saw some of it bleed out into the media when Kyrie said stuff and then Jaylen Brown pushed back. What is the dynamic there like, and how much of a problem is it between the young guys and Kyrie and the way he wants to play?
It's like any other regular season in the NBA when you have 82 games and you're around people all the time. Young guys want to establish themselves as all-stars. Young guys want to get paid maximum contracts. We all can understand that. And one thing about Brad is, so I've been a part of teams, and I don't know if it's the same for you guys, but this is your role. You are going to do this because we have this player, this player, this player.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, just at any level. Everyone established his roles. So Brad Stevens, as a coach, does not say, you are only going to be this. I only want you to catch and shoot. What he says is, be the best version of yourself. Do the best job you can. Be aggressive. Look to score. Look to make the right basketball play. He empowers everyone on that team to be the best they can. He doesn't take other people and say, you know what? I know you're really good, but your time is going to come. Just be a defensive player and a three-point shooter. He doesn't do that. He wants everyone to be the best version of themselves, which is hard because you don't tell guys not to take shots. You don't say, hey, Kyrie's our best player. Make sure we get him the ball more and have him make plays. So it's a little bit different than what I've seen in the NBA and different than what you see around the NBA right now. It is everyone be the best you can be. Everyone try to be an all-star. Everyone try to get paid. Brad Stevens is all about everyone making as much money as possible, and he wants all of his players to do that.
Everybody loves Brad Stevens and, crowns him as this great coach, but even he knows and he's had a lot of success up to, in college or whatever without having those marquee star players, but he's never been able to win. He even knows that even with his style and what he gets out of people, you still need that guy in those big moments.
Yeah, you got to have to win it all, you get down to matchups. The playoffs slow down. It's about owning matchups. The NBA right now in the regular season looks completely different than what we saw in the playoffs last year. We saw a lot of isolation in the playoffs. Besides like a James Harden who's continued this season, most teams will have more success playing team basketball throughout the regular season. But in the playoffs, sometimes that's not going to work out. You need a go-to guy that can just break down an opponent, a guy who can force two on the ball to finally play out of that, and Kyrie is that guy.
What do you make of the talk, the rumblings? I mean, you're around the team every day, that Kyrie, a lot of people in the league think he's out of there.
Well, here's why. It's easy to, if the Celtics do not provide him a championship caliber team moving forward, if he doesn't feel like he can win multiple championships with a team, then I think he will look elsewhere.
You think that's what it's going to come down to?
Oh, 100%.
Because if I'm Kyrie, now, selfishly, I hope he goes to New York if he can go with Kevin Durant. But I'm saying if I'm Kyrie and that's my number one thought, then why would you leave Boston? Unless, again, going with KD to New York is great. But I'm saying you got a good coach, you got role players around you, you got a great organization that knows how to win. You know what I'm saying? Why would it even be a question?
The Knicks have a 14.5% chance of getting Anthony Davis. Think about it that way. If they win the lottery and they get the number one pick, then Anthony Davis could end up there. So, New Orleans has to fend all the offers at the end of the day.
Right.
But you're looking at Zion Williamson saying, all right, our fan base can rally around him. We can get maybe some future draft picks. Now, if AD is now going to New York, I don't know if KD is going to go there. I don't want to do all the speculation thing. But I can put together a big three of AD, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
You are a champion. You are a dynasty type of team right now. So, yeah, the Knicks have a chance to get him. And I would think that the Celtics have to look at that and understand that.
Do you think that Brad Stevens has a tough time managing the style of play that Kyrie wants to?
No.
Not at all.
No.
That's the question. He hasn't had those superstars generally.
Nah, you want to know the real, the young players have to play better when Kyrie's playing. That's just it. They play good. Like Terry Rozier, he's close to 20 and 6 with 8 rebounds when he starts. He has to play better. Jaylen Brown has been good coming off the bench. When Kyrie's playing, everyone has to play better. That's not an excuse.
But they have to conform to his style of play.
No, you don't have to conform. Just be the best version of yourself.
But he is playing a different way,
how much different?
He's handling the ball a lot more. The ball moves a lot more without him.
Check the numbers. Actually, their passes are up when Kyrie is on the floor than when he's off the floor. When they lose, when they in Brooklyn, and no one ever mentions this, Brooklyn goes 44-19 in the third quarter. That ball was sticking, and Kyrie didn't play that day. So, yeah, the ball needs to move, and you also got to look at who else is playing with him on the road, what games is he sitting out. You have to look at all that. Don't look at the 9-2 record. The one example would be 28-point lead in the Garden where you just blew a 23-point lead to the Lakers.
Right.
And now, the next night, Kyrie gets hurt, and you guys go in the tank. Where's the excuse then? That's your opportunity.
That's where I feel like the style of play is different because with Kyrie, you're playing one way because you're dependent on him as young players and role players now to defer to him first instead of being all that I can be and showing that every single time up and down the court. And then he's out. Now it's like, okay, you want me to, I got to shift gears. Now everybody, Terry Rozier, I need you to get 20 buckets. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. It's hard to just shift gears like that.
Yeah, it's hard to be in the NBA. It's hard to win a championship. All that stuff is hard. I get it.
But it's easier when you have
it's hard.
Kyrie.
All right, what do you think, because I'm hearing emphatically Anthony Davis's dad has said he don't want his son playing in Boston. Do you think that's real? And do you think that Danny Ainge will be in any way deterred in going after Anthony Davis?
So once again, we only care about titles. I just weed us, right? We only care about titles. It's about hanging banners. I'm not too concerned about what Anthony Davis' father says. Now, you get him, you win with Kyrie. Obviously, hopefully Kyrie's there, and you have AD, you win a title, and he wants to leave, then guys have the right to do whatever they want. It's free agency. That's the risk you have to take. But, to win it, I think you need those type of players.
OKC took a chance. Everybody told them Paul George was going to the Lakers.
Yeah, but Paul George's dad wasn't saying he wasn't going to Oklahoma City.
No, but I'm just saying, but people didn't think that he was he was going to stay
Kawhi
there.
Leonard, the same thing.
Right? I mean,
you want to win, you got to take some risks.
You got to take a risk.
But I get it. Look, if I'm Boston and I sign Kyrie, then I'm doing whatever it takes to get Anthony Davis. But if Kyrie leaves and I'm Danny, I don't think I'd throw out everything just to get AD. Because then if I give up Jason Tatum and all these guys, okay, so do you think if they lose Kyrie, it's still worth giving up all these other guys
Deal probably
to
be
get AD just for what might be 1 year?
Deal will probably be in place beforehand.
Has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
No, I get that, but I'm saying to me it's two different things. If I've got Kyrie, yeah. But if I don't have Kyrie, am I going to risk giving up all these young guys that I know can be pretty good in the future just for what might be a 1 year rental?
I don't think Danny Ainge deals in mites. I think at that point you would know.
He's going to do it no matter what.
No, I think you know.
Well, he's not going to. AD, from what I'm being told, they will tell Boston we're not staying long term.
Well,
if you want to do a 1 year
rental. Well, they can't make that trade then. If he can't get a commitment.
That's what I'm asking. That's
I don't
what
know.
I'm saying.
I would make it. Now,
you would risk it.
Well, I would have some assurances from Kyrie. I mean, you understand that there's going to be some communication going on. It's not just playing darts in the dark.
But he's saying Kyrie's not
if
there.
If Kyrie's gone,
right,
and I'm Danny, I'm not. I have a problem giving up Jason Tatum and all my young guys and draft picks for what likely would be or might be a 1 year rental.
But then why would Anthony Davis then want to go there if there's no?
He wouldn't, but they would trade him if Danny still trades him. You got to play there 1 year.
I got
That's what I'm saying.
That's not going to happen. I can guarantee you that. If they know that Kyrie is going to leave, or if Kyrie told them my intentions aren't to leave, then the Anthony Davis thing is like a different animal. You're not giving up. The Celtics are having a trove of assets.
Right.
Picks
Can we
moving
get
forward.
the Celtics analyst to talk little Lakers with us?
Sure.
All right.
Great job moving on, though.
What'd you say, train wreck? Oh, okay.
Are the Lakers going to miss the playoffs if they don't fire Luke Walton? That's what we're going to discuss next.
You didn't know that was the topic.
No mercy.
Well, things haven't worked out as planned for the Lakers and LeBron so far. They're under 500 and are 3 games back in the playoff race. This is all leading to speculation that Luke Walton could be out as head coach. But that's not going to happen, according to the LA Times. Reports say Jeannie Buss, Magic Johnson, and GM Rob Pelinka are all united in keeping Walton for the rest of the season. However, the report adds the execs see a, quote, disconnect between Walton and the players, and they feel LeBron isn't totally engaged. So we are joined once again by Celtics legend, Brian Scalabrine. Corrected myself.
Get it right.
I'm going to ask you to be a little unbiased in this segment as we talk Lakers. But what do you think? Would it be a mistake to let go of Luke?
Yeah. I mean, he's built this culture so far. I know it's not what they expect, but LeBron missing 18 games, that's not an easy thing to do. And the Western Conference, don't look at the records. When you look at the players in the Western Conference, night in and night out, you're in for a dogfight. And that's just how it is for the Lakers. And that's why I kind of expected them to be on the outside looking in throughout this playoff. I did not expect Sacramento to be this good or the Clippers to be this good, but it's hard out west. It's not an easy thing to get over that hump.
But I agree, obviously, with Brian. I think it would be a mistake to let Luke go. You brought up the 18 games LeBron's missed. If he doesn't miss those games, they're fighting. They're probably around 5th or 6th in the West. And we're not talking about Luke. They may be talking about, can they win the West? Can they get to the conference finals with Luke? And maybe we should get rid of him because then maybe they would never be satisfied. But my point, there's other guys. You know how important Rondo can be to a team.
Sure.
He's missed 34 games. Brandon Ingram's missed 11. Lonzo Ball's missed 10. And when they had about 10 or 11 guys that could arguably think, I should be playing. When you have that many guys that deserve to play and you have all these injuries, it's hard to get a set rotation. So I understand why Luke has had trouble getting the rotation set when guys have been in and out of the lineup. And I talked before, Brian, about the defense. The defense, I think that's a sign of a good team, a good coach, is when your team buckles down and plays defense. They're 12th in the league right now in defense. They were in the top 10 before Lonzo Ball got hurt, who for some reason is really important to their defense because he's long, he's rangy, he's got good instincts, and they like to switch everything so he can switch. So I'm just saying, not to mention the makeup of the roster. You put it together without three-point shooters, even though you brought in LeBron James. Then at the trade deadline, they go and get some three-point shooters.
How many excuses are you going to make?
No, these are facts.
There was a lot,
There's a difference.
right?
There's a difference between
I can't remember one.
Because I'm dropping facts. There's a difference between facts and excuses. You make excuses. I drop facts.
These are excuses. The
Is
bottom
it
line,
not a fact that LeBron was out and that he makes
what kind
a
of
difference?
business is this? A results business? Nobody in their right mind thought they'd be on the outside looking.
He just said it.
Even you did. You
I
didn't think
did.
they were going to make the playoffs this year with LeBron James.
I just think
And
the
he
West is
wasn't
the
the only
beast.
one.
I
He
look at the
wasn't the
Western
only
Here's
Conference.
the other thing. LeBron James, Chris Broussard, is back on the court. He's not
5
injured.
games, Rob.
And what have
Don't
they
be a
done
prisoner of the
since they've
moment.
been back?
Don't
they
be a
lost
prisoner.
to Atlanta the other night. LeBron had a triple-double, and they lost. They're on the outside.
So that's why
And you
Luke
know
should
what?
get fired.
I'm telling
Because
you.
LeBron had a triple-double and they lost. He
No,
should
I'm
get
just
fired.
saying because they lost also to the Cavaliers and the Knicks at home.
Sure.
The Lakers.
Without
And
LeBron.
You can't
Don't
just
forget
pick
that fact.
games out.
picking those games.
You can't do
And
that.
here's
In
the-
82 games, you can't
and
do
here's the
that.
other
Because they
thing.
beat OKC. They beat Golden
But
State.
here's the other thing.
They're better than
Luke
those teams.
Walton wasn't hired by Magic or Pelinka. He's not their guy.
Yeah, but that's not what
And
she's
when you
asking.
don't win.
That's not what she's saying. Should he be fired? Not, is he going to?
If
And
they
why?
continue this,
Should.
If they
Should
continue
he?
this downward slide as we move into the final 25 games, they might need to do something to try to shake it up and save this season.
Wait, how are you
It's
gonna
heading
save this season?
Easy to make the playoffs. Everybody would still rather LeBron James make the playoffs and have a chance than him being on the outside looking in and not making the playoffs at all.
I'm with Rob, and here's why. It's a mistake. And Brian, you know this. When you're in a locker room and there is conflict and there's tension, meaning you got Rondo, you got JaVale McGee, you got Lance Stevenson, all these 3 veteran guys on a 1-year deal. They're trying to play and get an extension somewhere, and if not with the Lakers. Then you have these young guys who are trying to play themselves into a contract and get long-term deals. And there's tension because we were out the window just a week and a half or so ago because you were trying to acquire Anthony Davis. Now all of a sudden we're here. This is what Luke Walton has to deal with, and he hasn't been able to corral these guys. You don't have the ear of your superstar in LeBron James, and so if I'm a young guy and I'm all these other veterans and I see the number 1 person on this team doesn't even listen, or you can't influence him, you can't get him to play hard or
play
engage
defense.
or do the things that you need to do as a head coach to echo. You got to have that player that you know can speak to the team and have influence echoing what you're doing at that head coach position. And he doesn't. He doesn't have that. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I'm not saying that Luke Walton can't get another job somewhere, and I'm sure he would. But right now, they have to shake something up because LeBron isn't sold on Luke Walton. And that's why you acquired LeBron James, and now all of a sudden, we're acting as though he wasn't going to have problems with what's in place.
Was LeBron sold from the get-go?
He was sold because of Magic.
But no, was he sold on Luke?
He didn't meet him for like 4 weeks after he signed.
Because maybe they should have made the coaching. You're right. I mean, obviously you need your superstar and the other players to buy in. But if they knew if LeBron wasn't sold in November or December, maybe that would have been the time. But here I go. Even if he wasn't sold in, they still were the 4th seed at one point.
Yeah, but that was so long ago. When you
that
look
was
at
like
the team
a
where
month
it's
and a
going,
half.
The question was, should he? That was the question. Not will he or LeBron. Should he? He should not be fired. He's done.
Why should he not be fired? Tell us
He
that.
has exceeded expectations with LeBron out. 18
under
games?
500?
Yeah. LeBron missed 18 games.
Yeah, but some of those
go
games,
and look at
Brian,
all the games where
go
LeBron
look at the schedule on some of the games that they lost when LeBron was out. They should have won those games. They weren't prepared.
But they also beat Oklahoma City and Oklahoma City with
Very
LeBron
nice.
out.
And you
They
know
beat
what?
Golden
Weren't you
State.
just the one that
Knicks
said
have
you
lost
can't
18
pick
straight.
No, but he redid it.
But
He did it.
the Knicks have lost 18 straight. Guess what game they won?
The Laker game.
The Laker game
Rob,
in LA.
If you're
They
going
won
to
that's it, that's the reason.
If you're going to discredit Luke and
I'm
the
not
Lakers, hold on,
discrediting.
no, If you're going to discredit and blame him for the bad losses, then you have to give him credit for the good wins.
See,
give him credit for Golden State.
This is what
give
I'm
him
not
credit
doing.
for OKC at OKC without LeBron.
I'm not blaming Luke. I'm just saying from
so the answer is no.
So you're not answering should.
No, he should not be fired.
From a team dynamic, when you're in a locker room and you don't have the ear of the players from a head coach perspective, the odds are you're going to move on with that guy because we need somebody that can corral these guys, that these guys are going to be willing to play for. It's not about how great a coach you are and how effective you've been with or without LeBron James. Where are they and what they've done? Two totally different things. Trust me, I want them to be successful. I believe
but
that
you see it.
But I'm
Your
a
main
realist.
reason for him, he should be fired because LeBron and the players are basically tuned him out.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Let's look at this from a different angle. So the LA Times report from Brad Turner says that Luke's job is safe through the end of the season. Okay, so there's that. Lakers are still trying to make the playoff. They're a couple games out. We'll have Brian chime in and try to help the Lakers make the playoffs. You've played with Rondo. Rondo's on that roster. What kind of leader is he? Maybe he's an X factor that can step up and corral this team and get them to refocus, maybe?
I just saw them come back from a big deficit in Boston on a big night, Thursday night, Patriots in the front row getting honored, all that stuff. And they came in and they chipped away. They looked like a well-coached team. Now you move on to the Atlanta game, you go to the Philadelphia game.
And in Indiana, where they gave up 140
and they gave up the 42 points. So they're inconsistent, but that's expected with LeBron coming back. He will just go back. They had an all-time great team when he was in Miami. They lost 5 of 6 games during that stretch. So he has had those type of things. Now, with Rondo there, they can find a groove with all kinds of Lonzo Ball getting hurt, Ingram getting hurt. Once they find their groove, then I could see them winning 8 of 9. And now all of a sudden, 8 of 9 gets you into the playoffs. So that is, to me, for them, with LeBron missing all these games, that should be the standard. And going back to Rondo, I think he's a phenomenal leader. I know it's like he's very polarizing when you think about.
But when he gets in a situation where he fits well.
Yeah, and he can lead teams. He can make players better. So you have young guys. You want to. The biggest thing you want to do this season for them is take your young guys and showcase them. LeBron makes people around him better. Rondo makes people around him better. If I have young players and I'm trying to showcase them, I want those two guys on my team. And I think Luke Walton also understands that. I don't know if he'll be back next year, if they got AD in the offseason. I don't know any of those things. But I'm looking at what they're doing right now. Luke Walton, Rondo, LeBron, they do have what it takes to flip the switch and get into the playoffs in the Western Conference. But they can't have those bad losses to Atlanta on the road.
The legend has spoken.
There we go.
And the legend agreed with me. I'll have you two know. I'm just saying.
Chris,
he did.
You believe everyone agrees with you.
Yes. That's
the question was, would it be a mistake to keep Luke the rest of the year? He said no.
I don't want to debate it
Greg
again.
and I said, moving on.
Yes.
Moving on. Will the Sixers grab the throne in the East? Uh-oh. Now that LeBron is finally gone, we'll discuss it next.
No mercy.
Well, the big 4 contenders in the Eastern Conference all cruised to wins last night. The Bucks have the best record in the NBA, but according to odds makers, they have the second best shot at winning the East. They trail the Raptors, who are on a 6-game winning streak and added Marc Gasol at the trade deadline. The Celtics and Sixers have the next best odds to win a conference that has been dominated by LeBron for the past 8 seasons. So Brian Scalabrine still joining us in studio, but we are going to start with you, Chris, on this one. With LeBron out of the East, who's the team to beat?
I think the top of the East is great. In fact, I would argue that after Golden State, the next maybe 3 best teams, Toronto, Milwaukee, and Boston, are in the East. So it's a lot tougher this year. I think all those 3 are like this. But if I have to pick one, and I don't put Philly on their level, I think there's a notch below.
Even after the trade.
Yeah, because I don't think Simmons and Embiid are ready mentally to win at a high level. I don't think they can beat Boston. I mean, you've seen it now. They're 3-17 against Boston in the last 20 games. And I just think they get out-executed and out-grinded and out-coached down the stretch of those games. But if I have to pick one team in the East, I'm going with Milwaukee. I'll give you a few things. They got the best player, I think, in the conference in Giannis Antetokounmpo. They play defense. They do it all. They play defense, then offensively, they can shoot the three. They make the third most amount of three-pointers in the league. They can score inside because Giannis will post sometimes. They can drive because Giannis will drive. They are the only team in the NBA in the top 5 in defensive efficiency and offensive efficiency. I look at Toronto. I like them a lot. But I don't know if Kawhi is just sitting out for rest, but now they're talking about a sore knee. Maybe that's just something they threw out there. But he's missed 16 games. I wonder, may he have to miss a playoff game here or there. I look at Kyle Lowry, too. His body seems to maybe be breaking down a little bit. Boston, I think their biggest challenge is the internal kind of squabble of, are we Kyrie's team or are we this egalitarian equal opportunity group where everybody's doing their thing, and are the young guys fully buying in to Kyrie as the leader and number one guy? So for those reasons, I like Milwaukee. Look, they have the best road record in the NBA. This team is, and Mike Budenholzer is a good coach. Remember a few years ago when he took that Atlanta team to 60 wins, they didn't really have a perennial all-star other than Al Horford. So they've got all the boxes checked. I won't be surprised if Toronto or Boston wins it, but I'd pick Milwaukee.
See, I love Toronto only from the standpoint of, A, 13-3 when Kawhi is taking his rest, so it's not just about him and they have other people contribute. And number 2, Kawhi brings you that experience a guy who won a championship, who won an MVP, who in the big moments, there's no question where the ball's going and what you need to get from him. So I like Toronto, and all the points you made about Milwaukee's fine. I'm just not sure in the big game, in the big moment yet, that he's going to be that guy.
You got to look at growth. Like, when you're looking at these teams, who is going to grow the most in the playoffs? Who's going to raise their level? I think that's an easy one. We all can probably agree that Boston's going to play a lot better in the playoffs than what we're seeing right now.
I agree.
Milwaukee, I'm just not sure they're going to take another step. For all the things that you mentioned, man, they're great on defense. They're great on offense. They have Giannis, the inside scoring.
Great on the road.
Can they raise their level? The Atlanta team that you mentioned with Budenholzer, they were good, but they got beat up by the Cavs, and it wasn't even close. They never raised their level. So I look at that Bucks team, and I watch, and you're right. They are the team in the East. They have not won a playoff series. That group have not won a playoff series. They're that team where I'm saying, here comes the playoffs, and they're going to beat up on that first-round opponent. But if they're a 1 and Boston's a 4 and they get out and they have to play them in the second round, I'm not sure I'm taking the Bucks in that series because of things that we talked about earlier. Giannis is unbelievable. Probably the MVP if the game was only 44 minutes. The last 4, I'm not sure about. He plays so hard. What does he go to? The game gets tougher. It gets physical. Where is he going to go the last 4 minutes? The Celtics are going to Kyrie. The Raptors are going to Kawhi Leonard. I know what's going to happen in the last 4 minutes. I don't know what the Bucks are going to do. They're going to go to more ball movement. They're going to go back to the Mike Budenholzer Atlanta team. They struggled in the last 4 minutes, too. So when I look at Milwaukee, I'm not sure that they're going to raise their level as much as I think Toronto will. By the way, Siakam, career high last night. No one ever talks about him, most underrated player in the league. And then Kyle Lowry, been there before. He'll be fine.
So who's your pick? Toronto?
Yeah, I think Toronto because Boston's 1-12 in Toronto right now, and they have to prove to me they can go in there and win in Toronto. But when I look at this team, like the Bucks, I'm just countering your argument. I'm not sure the Bucks are on that level as far as when you talk about playoffs.
Yeah, I love it. A guy from Boston who's not a homer.
Yeah, no, I am a homer. I am a homer.
Okay.
Yeah, and I root to be wrong.
Okay.
100%.
I don't know.
I'm sold on Toronto as well. And you mentioned them being 13-3 without Kawhi Leonard. And earlier in the show, we were talking about Kyrie Irving and needing to have that guy to close the game. You kind of alluded to it. They have that guy in Kawhi Leonard. Who does the Bucks have?
Well, Giannis is he's in the top 10.
And you make a great.
Last 4 minutes, he's a little bit different.
You make a great
he
point
can
because
score, but you're right. They don't just go straight to him. But I like that because they got other options.
They do have other options.
Makes them less predictable. Chris Middleton?
Yeah, wait a minute. There are levels to this game. I love Middleton. He should be an all-star. But he ain't. Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie.
All I need you to do is hit a shot. See, I'm not of the hero.
No.
I'm not in the hero ball group. I'm not at the end of the game, I'm not give it to him and just get out of the way. I'm like, let's run a play with some options.
Did we not just have this conversation about Kyrie?
I wasn't just
Kyrie.
No, hold on. Don't twist my words. I wasn't just talking about the last 4 minutes. I was talking about, period. You need a superstar. And they've got Giannis.
And you talked about
He's
clutch.
a superstar.
You didn't talk about clutch.
Oh, Kyrie is clutch?
Yeah, in the moments where you need him most, which is the last waning moments
I wouldn't
of the
take
game.
anybody over Kyrie in that. But I'm not going to say Milwaukee can't win because Giannis isn't as clutch as Kyrie. That's all I'm saying.
In my opinion, you have 2 clutch guys and a Siakam that feels like I'm just as clutch as these guys, Kyle Lowry and Kawhi Leonard in Toronto. And they play defense. Arguably the best two-way player when he's on the court in the game in Kawhi Leonard. So I like this team moving forward. You add Gasol that stretches the floor, that gives you three-point shooting at the big spot. I like this team because they have depth. They can defend and they can score. Now they do go through lulls where they don't put up points in a matter of 4, 5, 6 minutes at a period of time. But I feel like if they do go through those lulls, they have the defense to defend and stop the opponent from scoring as well.
Look, I've been with Toronto, as Rob knows, basically all year. I'm a little concerned. And again, maybe Kawhi is probably maintenance. And he came out of San Antonio where that's what they do. They sit you out some games. So maybe that's all it is. But I'm just a little bit concerned at that we're this deep in the season and I still see him sitting out these games. And I think Kyle Lowry, if you look at his production, it was higher early than late. And he's not been great for the most part. He's had his moments in the playoffs, but he hasn't been great for the most part in the playoffs. And by the way, I know it's regular season, but Milwaukee's 3-1 against Toronto. Sure. They're 5-2 against those other top teams, including Philly.
Things get a little tighter when the playoffs.
No, you're right. And you make a good point. You're right. I mean, we know Boston's going to raise their level. Toronto probably will. We have yet to see it with Milwaukee. They got Kyrie, they got Kawhi, and Danny Green, champions. So Milwaukee's got an uphill battle, but I like them.
I'm interested in your take on this. Kawhi Leonard is sitting out because I think it's a concern too, personally, from a fan, not knowing how things go internally. Like, is this Kawhi Leonard just saying, I'm not playing, or is he really hurt?
No, I think I think this is an easy one. With Kawhi Leonard last year, I think he felt that San Antonio was forcing him to get out there. You remember the comments that Tony Parker said about, hey, I had an injury, I'm older, I came back, and you weren't playing. So I think with Toronto, and I don't know this, but anytime you got an injury issue, go ahead and sit out because we take care of our players. We care about you for the long term. I think they're selling that to him, and I don't think it has to do with this year. I think it has to do with his free agency.
To try to write.
Especially, yeah.
Like we care about you long term. It's not just about this. We're not going to sacrifice you going out there and hurting yourself for us to have home court advantage. Whatever it is. Take all the time you need. We want you here next year. It has nothing to do with this year.
Interesting. All right, guys.
Why did we not talk about Philly? They made that trade. How can we not talk about Philly?
Bring them on. Well, they're one. This is my problem with Philly, and I pull for Philly. Like, I would love to see them come out. I don't think they have a leader yet on the court. I think Butler's deferring a little bit, and he's had problems with leadership.
They got Tobias Harris for pretty much nothing.
Right? No.
Well, how is that not? How are you adding an all-star?
They got 4 guys.
And not.
They've upgraded talent-wise. But have they upgraded between the eyes, the ears? I mean, that's my only question. I just don't think Ben and Joel are ready yet. We brought up the other night against Boston. They're down 4 with 3.5 minutes left. What does Joel come down to do? 4 seconds into the shot clock, 3-pointer.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, it will lose against Boston.
Sure.
Now, they'll have a better shot, I think, against Toronto and Milwaukee than against the Celtics.
No, that's what I think. The interesting matchup is going to be who they play in the second round, who Boston plays in the second round.
Well, they better hope they don't get Boston in the first round. Right now, that's the match.
Nah, but Indiana,
4 or 5.
Indiana eventually is going to fall out of
I
there.
know
they are, but eventually the NBA, like, you don't have big. You're eventually going to fall off.
Right? How well they play.
They're
shockers.
Yeah.
Remember, the Lakers lost by 42 to them.
Yeah, you keep bringing that
LeBron
up.
played in that game.
Jeez.
LeBron played in that game, too.
First game back after 18. Jeez.
Y'all, thank you for hanging out with us this morning. Good to see you. Russell Westbrook said he pays no attention to his haters. Do we believe him? We'll discuss next.
That's what he said? I don't think he said that.
Yeah, he didn't say that.
No mercy.
Well, Russell Westbrook set an NBA record earlier this week with his 10th straight game with a triple-double. And the Thunder will enter the break as the 3 seed in the West. Despite all that, he still has his critics. Westbrook is shooting the lowest percentage since his rookie year, and he averages nearly 5 turnovers a game. Well, yesterday, Russ didn't shy away from his feelings about critics. Listen to this.
With your game this year, there's so much talk about the shooting, but then the other things you do to make up for all that sort of stuff, there's so much conversation about it. Do you totally disengage from that stuff? Do you hear what people say?
I've been disengaged in that conversation since started playing basketball when I was 8.
Is that hard to do?
Nah, I've been blessed with the talent not to give a so I don't. Regardless of what happens, doesn't change the way I live, doesn't change what I think. He say, she say, what somebody say about me, what they say about shooting, passing, dribbling. I don't really care. Every year is something. They got to make up something about me, which is fine. It's good. One thing I always know is if they're not talking about you, then you're not doing something right.
All right. Interesting comments there from Russell Westbrook.
This is a PG show, isn't it?
This is a PG show.
I'm just asking.
What do you think of Westbrook's attitude right there?
I tell you what, I thought, he obviously cursed, but I thought that's a great quote. And I thought the way he said it, blessed with a talent, that is something that you're just blessed with. Like, you don't care whatsoever what people think. Now, maybe you can get better at it or maybe acquire it to a certain degree, but actually just not caring, going through life, not caring what anybody says or thinks about you is a blessing. And I do think Westbrook has it. We've seen some of the stars, Kevin Durant, we talk about him being sensitive. He does care so much about what other people say and think. LeBron James, I think, is similar to Durant. I think he cared, maybe not to that level, but remember the Dallas series. Mm-hmm. And then remember after that, he went to 0 dark 30, 23, I think is what he calls it, where during the playoffs, he's off social media. So he doesn't even watch like sports television and stuff like that. So he's not looking at what people are saying or thinking about him. And I think that's what Westbrook has. I think Michael Jordan had it. I think Kobe Bryant had it. I think Allen Iverson had it. Now, there are many positives, of course, and that's what allows you to average a triple-double, which nobody ever thought that could be done in today's NBA. There's a negative side, though, and we've seen it with all these legends. We see it with Westbrook. It can be, when that's your attitude and thought process, it can be harder to learn and to take the positives that people are saying and incorporate it into your life some way. Like with him, it took him a long time to understand time and score. And, I mean, when Kevin Durant was there, he's not giving him the rock a lot at the end of games and not really listening because he just cares about what he thinks. With Jordan, we saw it when he went to Washington and he wasn't leading them to championships. It was trouble in that locker room because of the way he was. With Iverson, he couldn't accept, you saw it in Detroit, being a role player. He could have played 3-4 more years if he was a Paul Pierce or a Vince Carter. And he couldn't accept it.
I just accept Russell Westbrook for who he is. He's a different guy, and that quote really tells you. A lot of guys, you mentioned it, Durant is very sensitive. There's a lot of guys who want to be praised, don't want to hear any negative. So if you can tune it out and just play. I just admire him for he never cheats you, he plays hard every night, and he's trying to win. So after that, I think people will look at him and find something wrong with his game because it's not perfect. And there's a lot of stuff that you could pick at about him, but I don't think you could ever pick at him and say he's not trying or he's not trying to win. And I think that's why he just decides, I don't care what other people say. I'm going to go out and do what I need to do.
Yeah, it's a trait that I think every athlete would love to say they have, but it's just flat out hard to do. And with him being able to do it, it is really impressive. You alluded to some of the guys that you feel like has it. Tom Brady is one of those guys on the football side that has it. But inside the locker room, you hear so much. It's going to either affect the way you perform in a negative way, or it's going to propel the way you perform in a positive way. Meaning, I'm going to take what you say, or I'm going to hear what you say, and I'm going to do everything in my physical power to prove you wrong. With Westbrook, everybody, he shoots, even with Durant, He shoots too much. He needs to defer. He needs to do this. The next year, without Durant or with Durant again, he still did the same thing. He was unwilling to kind of conform to what everybody felt like he should do. And it's kind of been this way his entire career. And until he takes the time to say, you know what? I think I can do some things differently. It's not him conforming because of what everybody's saying. It's now he understands, you know what? I need to do this and play this way for us to win and be effective.
But you can see some of the negatives, like I said, to that. I mean, what if he had, and again, you don't want him dialing back his aggressiveness, but what if he had listened a little bit more and said, you know what? KD's the best scorer in basketball. Let me get him to rock a little more late.
Greg, as a player, do you still remember the worst things said about you or written about you? Do you?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Did you have that mentality?
It wasn't to that extent, in that degree. I feel like I had it for the most part, but it is hard to do, to sit here and honestly say, yeah, I feel like Charles Barkley, another person.
Right.
That's like, they don't, when some people say, I don't care what people say about me, you're lying. Because you're the ones that are on social media, you're looking at all, you have to clap back. In KD's instance, I don't have a problem with some of those people because I know how hard it is not to clap back.
Rob, how are your mentions?
My mentions are not good. You already know that. But it's okay. I'm glad that I'm
some
on.
of that, I think.
I know. I do.
Westbrook.
You know that. I just kind of let it roll.
And an NBA legend compared Luka Doncic to LeBron James. Is the Luka hype getting out of hand? We will discuss coming up.
No mercy.
Luka Doncic was an assist shy of a triple-double in last night's loss to the Heat, but he got high praise from a future Hall of Famer. Dwayne Wade said about Doncic's passing ability, quote, it's LeBron James-like from the standpoint of how he's able to rope that pass to shooters in the corners. He does an amazing job of it. All right, Chris. D-Wade going a little too far on that?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I am sold on Luka Doncic. His numbers are almost exactly like LeBron's, except he averages 2 more rebounds than LeBron did when they were both rookies. He's 19. He's basically the same age LeBron was. LeBron was 18. And the best thing is leading the wins. Dallas won 24 games last year. They've already won 26 this year. They're 20-9 at home. I think Luka Doncic, now I'm not saying he's going to be like LeBron. LeBron's second best player of all time. I'm not putting Luka on that level, but I do think he's a future MVP candidate in this league.
He looks like a man amongst boys. And like you say, you do the comparison of the numbers, you could see where Dwayne Wade is giving him those high praises because the numbers bear it out. It's not off the top of his head, and he's been sensational his rookie year.
Yeah, the way he's playing like a seasoned veteran at 19 years old, and I think that's what separates him from all these other rookies and young players in the league, and what will allow a player like Dwayne Wade to give him that much praise, comparing him to a LeBron James. Obviously, he's well worth the price of admission, Luka Doncic. I love to watch him, so keep it up.
All right, guys, fun show today.
No mercy.
Thanks for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Jenny Taft. Join us again at the same time tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern. We'll see you then.
Fox Sports 1 of 1.